Hey guys, so a topic that's been mentioned quite a bit in the comments of my latest video is auto revive. Yeah, I know, it's the boogeyman of Beasts of Bermuda right now. But anyways, nothing has split the community quite as hard as auto revive. A lot of people love it and a lot of people do not like it. Theoretically, auto revive should have been a no-brainer, right? It's a system that allows people who may not be able to dedicate so much time to growing because of social obligations like work or school without the worry of the cost of death. So where is the downside in it? Well, today I want to explore my personal thoughts on why I think auto-revive can be beneficial while also being damaging to the gameplay loop of Beasts of Bermuda. I know this is a very controversial topic and some passionate discussions will happen, but please try to keep it respectful with each other, and for the sake of simplicity, I will be referring to Gauntlet and auto-revive rather than using life cycle and free roam even if they are interchangeable. It's just easier for me. As some of you may have noticed, auto-revive has dominated the game within the last several months, and it's not hard to see how much of a grip it has on the player base if you view the community servers and their settings. But does this really mean that it's become much more desirable over the Gauntlet mode? Well, to me, auto-revive is quite the double-edged sword. On one hand, it's a very useful time-saving system, but on the other, it deviates from the intended gameplay loop of a creature survival game. The risk of starvation, dehydration, or death from other players is no longer considered a problem. You simply respawn at the growth you died at. If you're being hunted by a group of players, just force respawn and find a new place to grow, no big deal. Death is no longer an obstacle, but this means that the game has lost an element of survival gameplay with auto-revive enabled. This is a problem because it causes lax gameplay and takes away a lot of the challenge of picking a fight or the urgency in a life-threatening situation. An auto-revive server is the equivalent of a deathmatch server to me. Growth no longer feels like an achievement when getting to large sizes without the risk of death, and with growth stat scaling, the divide between casual players and dedicated players on auto-revive becomes much more severe when a newer player joins an already established auto-revive server. Alright, let's talk about Gauntlet mode. With the introduction of Gauntlet mode, the devs made growth faster, which in turn caused the impact of death to be less intense, as you could just grow back to where you were upon death very quickly. Since growth was much easier to come by in this new mode, death was not as punishing with reduced growth times. However, if you are limited on time and have social obligations, death is still a hefty price to pay if you had a larger creature that died. Of course, you could always sacrifice your other creatures in the unfortunate case of death, but most of the times, and especially on Gauntlet, it's much more worth it to just take the L and respawn with a reduced growth. Another thing about Gauntlet is how frustrating it can be at a higher growth to keep yourself fed. Obviously, it should be somewhat difficult to keep a larger creature fed and alive, but it is near close to being an eating simulator for some creatures after a certain growth. It becomes a chore rather than a game. Gauntlet is no saint compared to auto-revive and has its own drawbacks, of course, but it still embodies the soul of a creature's survival game. Now, death shouldn't be an ultra-punishing aspect of a survival game. It should be a minor setback with a lesson to learn. Perhaps you should have been more aware of that cliff you accidentally walked over, or had known of a nearby water source before you dehydrated. This is the importance of death in a survival game. The problem with death in Beasts of Bermuda is that with a practically infinite growth system, it can be quite painful to lose hours of your time dying, which takes a chunk of your growth away. And this is where auto-revive came and took the community by storm. The devs introduced a system that made Gauntlet practically obsolete. Would you rather put time into a creature only to have that time taken when you die? Or would you rather just smash the respawn button and pretend like nothing ever happened? It doesn't take a lot of thought to understand why the community has drifted to auto-revive instead of Gauntlet. There is practically no incentive to play Gauntlet when you can just infinitely grow your favorite creature on an auto-revive server. So what can be done? The developers seem to be in a rock and a hard place right now. Should they just rip auto-revive away and upset the player base that is still left, only to appease some that may never come back, and in doing so, lose the community that is accustomed to playing in this new way? Personally, I don't think they can and should. What they really need to do is incentivize Gauntlet by adding more rewards for playing only on that mode. Kinda like they have been doing with the Lerdu Wave Rider skin, as an example. I really believe the two modes can coexist if they make Gauntlet more appealing and rewarding. Beasts of Bermuda could borrow more RPG-like elements like they did for the talent system and implement quests on Gauntlet with gameplay-related rewards. They could also reduce the penalty of death just a tad more, but this isn't completely necessary as I think growth is tolerable on Gauntlet. I don't think the game should be play in your sleep easy, but it could be a lot more user-friendly, especially for those who cannot dedicate as much time gaming as the average hardcore Beasts of Bermuda gamer. So what is the takeaway from this situation? I think the developers need to make Gauntlet more appealing to play than Auto Revive if they want it to stay viable and have a fighting chance against this competition. The time that they could have removed Auto Revive has long been past, and many of the current player base would not be happy if they went back on their word again. They need to take this unfortunate position they've been placed in and find new innovative ways to make Gauntlet more rewarding to play. I really want to know though, what do you think? Let me know in the comments your thoughts and opinions on Auto Revive and what they should do about it. This is probably going to be my last discussion video for a bit because I don't want to make my channel a rant channel, but this is a highly talked about topic and wanted to drop my own personal thoughts. Thank you for listening.